Hi there. I think we're ready to start. We had a little bit of a short break because we ran over a little. I'm going to speak in this session, so I'll introduce myself when I talk as the last speaker in the session. But we have three amazing speakers before me, starting with Zeev, who has been developing AR and VR for over 20 years. He has contributed technology and designs to Microsoft, Disney, Amazon, Second Life, and Google Earth. Avi.
All right, I can't see anything. So I have been at this for a while. Done quite a lot of work in design technology of AR and VR. I'm here talking for myself. I want to be clear with a disclaimer up front that I'm not here representing my new company. We're not quite ready to tell anybody what we're doing yet. We're not being promotional, but we're here just to sort of give back to the community and share some thoughts and ideas of things we've been thinking about for quite a long time. So for me, I can say safely that I was an augmented reality fan well before it was cool. I'm not sure, is it cool yet? I'm not sure. But it's getting there. One of the key challenges of building any mass market AR device is making it an object of desire, making it cool. We're almost there. But I was willing to use this stuff back when it was super clunky, and in many ways it still is. So one of the things that I wanted to start out with, this is a common debate that people have, AR versus VR. There's a big terminology fight that always goes on. Even what is AR? Is glass AR? Other experiences, cell phones? For me, it's really simple. And a simple thought experiment, I think, will help address the question. So what is the ultimate device that would allow us to have either AR or VR? And the answer is, it's this contact lens. This is something that Babak Parvez had been working on for quite a long time before he went to Google to work on glass. Imagine the device. It is a contact lens. It fits in your eye. It produces imagery right into your eye. It solves many of the challenging problems in terms of form factor, weight. It can sense where you're looking, so eye tracking would be built in. It could solve the opacity problem. If you can put pixels in focus on the surface of your eye, you can put opaque pixels in focus on the surface of your eye, and you can selectively block light. And if anybody here hasn't actually tried a see-through AR display yet, you'll notice the first time you try one that everything is translucent. That's because opacity is a hard problem to solve. The contact lens would solve that. So now the thought experiment. Imagine that you have these. Ask yourself, what's the difference between AR and VR? The difference is open your eyes and close your eyes. That's it, right? The oldest technology we have are eyelids, which allow us to wake versus dream, basically tell the difference between AR and VR. Close your eyes, you're in a virtual world, you can see anything you want that doesn't have to be real. Open your eyes, you see the real world, we can overlay augmented information on top of it. So if the same device can provide both experiences without any modification, what really is the difference between AR and VR? It really is just whether you're seeing the real world or not. What is the content of those experiences on top? How fantastical is it? So I see it, very simply there. So it is the same hardware. But that gets to an even deeper question, which is, are we really even augmenting the world? We're putting graphics out there, right? We're putting sound. We're adding to it. But are we changing the world? Does the world even know we exist, really? I mean, unless we strip mine a mountain, the world really has very little impact by what we do. So augmented reality itself is kind of a misnomer. We're not really augmenting the world. What we're really doing is changing our perception. And the very first examples of AR were back to Ivan Sutherland, who was brought up this morning already a couple of times. That device, the Sword of Damocles, was both AR and VR. There was no distinction made. It was the same thing. It was all about being able to create the equivalent of CAD models in space and be able to interact with those. So all these things, all these divisions that we create are somewhat artificial. By the way, I was born the same year that he did that. So it kind of gives you an idea of how long in coming this technology is, how long it's been going on. I'm in my mid-40s now, so this stuff does take a while. The actual AR contact lens is something that I thought about 20 years ago in a science fiction novel. I had once wanted to be a science fiction writer. And was thinking this would be the coolest thing ever. And I'm still waiting for it. And actually, I'm waiting for Babak to go finish it. So Babak, wherever you are, please get back to doing my contact lenses. So what we're really talking about is not changing the world itself. What we're really talking about is augmenting our perception of the world, which is a very inward-facing kind of thing, our own internal understanding of the world. We're also talking about changing our interaction with the world, which makes it a bit more powerful. That it's not just my own dream, but the interactions that I have with this new layer of information can actually affect the world. The simplest example is the pothole app. If I see a pothole, I take a picture of it, I can send it to the city, and within a week or a month, someone will come out and fix it. That's me affecting the world by my own thoughts. And that's just the simplest possible example that you can think of. So here's the key question that will lead to the thesis of my talk. And it's a very simple thesis. I'm a simple person. So if you could have any superpower, what would it be? And everybody has their own answer. My wife's answer would be to be invisible. It fits her personality very well. Mine might be to fly, and it fits my personality very well. So there are quite... oh, by the way, this is Chris Turner's answer, which is, I think, clever, but not exactly what we have in mind. We're thinking more like this. These are the classic superpowers: telepathy, clairvoyance, telekinesis, all these things that augment us as people and allow us more power in the physical world. So my thesis is this: that every game-changing technology that has ever existed, all the various types of media, all the other technologies that we've encountered that have really affected the world, can be seen and recast as a human superpower. And you can ask yourself the question, what superpower does this technology give me that I didn't have before? So electricity, good example. Electricity has given us the power to direct energy where we want, to make it light things up, to make things move. The telephone is the closest thing we have to telepathy today, right? We don't really have a sort of technological form of telepathy other than our natural ability to read each other's faces and understand each other. But the telephone allows us to bridge between one mind and another mind in the simplest possible way, of course using our ears and our voices. Television provides a primitive form of clairvoyance. And again, primitive, the emphasis is on the word primitive, but it is a form of clairvoyance. It allows us to see other places and other times that we could not otherwise see. The wheel is a form of primitive telekinesis, right? Not exactly how we think of telekinesis, of Jedi mind powers, be able to move things with my mind. But if I decide I want that rock to move, I now have the ability to make that rock move with a little bit of effort, much less effort than if I carried it myself. Flight is very easy to understand how that's along the way to teleportation. Computers give us enhanced intelligence in quite a number of ways. And then, of course, we have some really modern examples in terms of Google, Twitter, and Facebook. And so I call Google primitive omniscience. It's sort of proto-omniscience, or the power to know every dumb fact in existence, which in itself is a superpower. Twitter is primitive omnipotence, or the power to believe that you're important. Facebook is primitive omnipresence, or the power to keep in touch with people you could not be bothered to call. Okay? So these are typical examples of superpowers, and this is, I believe, one of the reasons that these services are popular is because they provide us with these abilities that we didn't otherwise have. So the question is, for augmented reality, or what I like to call augmented perception and interaction, what are the superpowers that it gives us? Does it give us any? Does it give us one? And the answer is actually that it gives us all of those. This is why it is so important. This is why it's so game-changing. It provides each of those things in spades. Okay, so I'm going to go through each one of these examples. These are all examples that exist in some form today. They're all kind of out there, but you can project into the future and imagine where they're going to go. So let's start with crowd solving. So in 2008, Ray-Ban paid actors to stand with their glasses and look at a sign. Now they did it for money. Doing things for money is not a horrible thing. They enjoyed the experience. But you can imagine any time that we send people out into the world with the glasses on, with some sort of instructions, and get them to act in concert together, that's a form of crowd solving. We have other sort of crowd words that we use commonly today. We have crowdfunding has become popular. We have crowdsourcing. I think crowd solving is going to be one of those things when people have this distributed computation and can move around, will be very, very popular and exciting thing for people to do. We have holographic telepresence, and many, many words for this. This is the one I like to use. So Star Wars is probably the best example of this, with the Emperor and Yoda and various people coming in. Notice they're translucent. That's actually true to form. If this were done using an current AR display, people who were beaming in holographically would appear translucent. So I happen to like the word ghosting for that. Some people don't like that word. We've had a little bit of a debate about it. We'll see. Let's make a bet and see what is the popular term that people choose for that. But either way, whatever the word is, it's going to be something that's going to be incredibly popular because, we all traveled here to get here. I only had to travel an hour. Some of you had to travel a day. This really is the future of how we interact with each other. We will be in the same place. This is not new. We will be in the same place at the same time with this form of holography. And this is just a few years from commercialization. It's really just waiting on the ability to read our faces and to project people out into space. The glasses are a very good way to do that. Spatial entertainment already exists. You can go and see these shows today. People use very powerful projectors to make buildings do things that buildings don't ordinarily do. These are very exciting shows. But now extrapolate and imagine where you can do this everywhere. Everything you see can be animated. Everything that you want to imagine can be a layer on reality that is interactive, artistically designed, engaging, and anybody can become a creator. Projection is a sort of the smaller version of that, where I have an idea, I want to be able to craft it in space. And the technologies are getting to the place. You saw videos from Meta, and I think they're showing some of their work where they have a head-mounted 3D camera, and they can start to track your hands. And with the display, you can now see 3D objects in space. We're getting to the place where whatever thoughts that I might have, whatever ideas, I can make real in the most easy way possible, which is really where the breakpoint comes. Whatever degrees of freedom we can imagine, using my entire body, whatever amounts of displays and bandwidth, we can all employ that for creative projection. LifeStreaming you're also familiar with. What happens, though, when everybody is recording everything? These are the questions people are starting to ask about Google Glass now that it's become popularly understood that this is coming. This has been around for a while. There have been spy sunglasses that you could buy for the last 5 years that had a camera in them, HD camera even, and you can record without anybody knowing. There's no light in your eye even to worry about. You could record without anybody knowing it, and nobody can see because the camera is a millimeter across. But now we're starting to deal with the issues of when it becomes pervasive. One of the most important consequences is that what do you do with all that information? Originally writing was the first thing, cave painting was the first thing that made it so that we could sort of bridge the gaps of time, overcome those limits. Now when we start to each record our own lives, and we can mix our lives together, then I think something that you can imagine calling life surfing, where the lives are available, people publish continuously, and we can see what everybody's doing at any given time. Maybe there are privacy controls and editing to make the thing more interesting and engaging than most of our lives, but you can imagine that being a very popular activity. We've heard about situational awareness. I'd like to call it perceptual intelligence. It's about getting everything around me into a form that I can more easily digest. There's a form of perceptual intelligence that is not about the world around me, but just interacting with people, being able to better understand people. Not everybody has the ability. My son is one of my sons is autistic, so not everybody has the ability to actually read faces and emotions. This is a device that actually allows you to understand. If you wear this device, then it reads people's faces for you and puts it in a form that you can understand. That's a kind of a superpower as well. Google spent quite a lot of time and other companies on building what they call ground truth, which is digitizing the analog world. This is absolutely critical, that putting the world out there in a digital form that we can crawl and compute and use for understanding the world ahead of time is foundational, absolutely fundamental to everything we want to do in augmented reality. And finally, when multiple people, I asked the question, who owns the data? It's a very important question to ask, because when multiple people take their data sets and put them out there and make them available in the same way that the web has made data available, you can now see beyond boundaries. You can create analyses and Gestalt views that allow us to really understand the world as a whole. So in a nutshell, AR/VR is not a kind of device or experience. It's an enabling infrastructure. It's like the Internet of Things, but for people and places. It's like the interwebs, but for the places we inhabit. And the key understanding is about unleashing, and I think Tommy said this earlier, it's about unleashing magic into the world. And if you're not thinking about it that way, you really should be, because magic is the game changer. It's the ultimate superpower, the power to make your thoughts real. Whatever ideas you have can become tangible, visible, shareable with other people. But as a result, it breaks the rules and conventions of society, because the rules and conventions are all based on limits. If we put you in jail, you can't leave. As soon as you can teleport, what does it mean to be in jail? All these things, the limits are what actually allow us to sort of operate in a civilized society, but these technologies are going to be wiping away limits. This is why you see all the angst about whether you can photograph or not photograph, or whether Google Glass can have facial recognition. People are struggling with these issues already. But the key is, the more superpowers we get, the less constrained we are to those natural limits that we're born with. The more top-down institutions depend on those limits, the more those institutions will gradually be wiped away and replaced. And the question is, with what? And the answer is, my last slide is blank, because that's what we're here to figure out. That's what we're here to design. Okay? So with that, thank you, and I'll give it over to Tish.